You're listening to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, the show that proves no one stumbles upon success ever. With your host, Lou Need. Every Mondays and Thursdays, we deliver cold hard evidence behind the power of a robust morning routine. Get ready to be transformed by the renewal of your mind.
Hello, morning enthusiasts. Welcome to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lou Need, and today I am elated and really thrilled to have Jon Ostenson to the show today. He is a top 1% franchise consultant with various years of experience in the space, multi-brand franchisee, and the founder of FranBridge. Now, he is a former president of ShelfGenie and VP of sales at Carter's. Now, he brings deep expertise in business growth and franchise operation. With a background in consulting at Accenture, Jon now helps entrepreneurs achieve financial freedom through franchising. And I'm really excited about this because that's just a huge opportunity and there's a lot of loopholes, but knowledge that's missing in that space on how to get started. So I'm really excited to have him on here to help clarify some of the confusion around franchising and how to go about it. So with no further ado, Jon, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Yes, absolutely. It's my pleasure. So you've been in this field for quite a bit. What got you started and said, I want to get into franchising?
Yeah, like so many of your listeners, I spent many years in the corporate world working for the man and, helping someone else build their empire, and always had that desire to build my own, but didn't know what it looked like. And frankly, didn't have franchising on my radar at that time. And I really, was blessed to kind of stumble into it almost a decade ago. Had the opportunity to leave a large public company and step in as the president of ShelfGenie franchise system and support owners all across North America and, help them become successful. And that's really where I fell in love with the franchise model, just seeing firsthand, all these diverse backgrounds, how they could step into business ownership through a shared system and all the support that we provided. So long story short, I ended up spinning off a ShelfGenie eventually with the founder. We invested in franchises ourselves. So I'm actually a multi-brand franchisee. So now I've been on both sides of the table and, got good people running those businesses, and it allows me to spend most of my time helping others all around the country get plugged in and identify the top opportunities for them in their markets.
Yeah, and I'm sure you get tons and tons of questions on how to get started. How do you do it? And so let's peel the layer a little bit and talk about what franchising looks like, what it is, because it is a wealth building structured enterprise. And so a lot of people are not aware of how to get started in that space. It may seem too grandiose, too big for the average person, but please shed some insight on that.
Absolutely. So franchising isn't right for everyone. Some people are too entrepreneurial and they want to put their thumbprint all over a business. But my humble belief is that for most people out there that are looking to become a business owner, franchising is a better path to do that. And, roughly half of our clients are looking to step in and maybe leave their day job and run the business themselves as a franchisee. The other half are looking to put a manager in place to run the business for them. A lot of these franchises allow for that. And, the success really comes down to having a good manager running the business, right? The buck still stops with you as the owner, but that is very doable in franchising because you've got this great support team on the sideline. So within franchising, it's just like any industry. You're going to have good players. You're going to have ones that aren't as strong. And that's where we come in to help our clients identify those that will provide them with the best support, best chance at success. And, at its core, what franchising provides, first off, I'll say on the negative side, you have to stay within the lines. You can't go crazy. You've got to follow the playbook. But for a lot of people, they see that as a positive because this is a business that's been proven out in other comparable markets. And now you can bring it to your market and you execute on the playbook. And you've got a coach on the sidelines and that franchisor supporting you. You've got a built-in team supporting you. You've got a community of other franchisees all across the country that are living the same thing day in, day out. So you're exchanging best practices. Obviously, you get synergy from bulk buying of services and goods. And, you're a part of a larger system, and so there's a lot of benefits to it, but people need to go in eyes wide open and understand, is this a good franchise system? Will it provide, essentially for what I'm looking for and complement what I need?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it does work having that structure because it's already working. It's been working for years. And so you're coming in and just kind of plug in and run it. And how expensive it is to get involved.
Yeah. I just had clients that bought 10 trampoline parks the other day, and those are about $3.5 million each. So we do have some of those types of deals out there, but most of our clients, when you look at the franchise fee and the startup cost and several months of working capital, essentially you're all in investment, oftentimes you're in the $150,000 to $300,000 range. Most people are not paying all cash. I would say if you don't have liquid capital of at least $50,000 or $60,000 that you could put towards the business, it's probably not the right time to step out just yet. You don't want to stretch yourself too thin. But most people will put in maybe $50,000 or $60,000 of cash, and then they'll use an SBA loan from a bank. And we have a lot of lending providers that help our clients. Obviously, banks prefer lending to franchises versus startups. Just the success rate is so much higher. So that's very, very common to use leverage to kind of fund the business. Some people will use an old 401k from a previous employer. You can roll that over through what's called the ROBS program and purchase the business that way as well.
Okay, so there's multiple ways to get in the door. Let's talk about the risk. You mentioned that banks are, it is more leaning more towards lending towards franchise than, startup because of the risk that is involved the startup and not proving track of it working, of product validation, all that good stuff. Let's talk about the financial risk and potential returns compared to starting a business versus franchising.
Yeah, there's a lot of stats out there that show the success rate of franchises versus startups. And, it's pretty compelling when you see them. And I don't want to give numbers just because, again, I see different numbers from different sources and I don't know how accurate it is. But directionally speaking, franchises succeed at a much higher rate. Now, I don't want to sugarcoat it. It still takes work, even within a franchise system. It takes a lot of work to get a business going. And, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it right. But, with business ownership, you get what I call the trifecta, and that is you're building cash flow, you're building an asset that's going to have an exit value down the road. If you run it halfway decent, right, you'll be able to sell it, but you're also getting tax benefits. The tax code was written in favor of business ownership because the government incentivizes people to create businesses and hire employees. And so there's so many things you can do. And maybe your spouse is a W-2, or maybe we have a lot of doctors that are high paid W-2s and they say, hey, we can't do anything tax strategy wise, but we'd love to get a business going that allows us to pay our kids and let them roll it into Roth IRAs or, just different creative things, within the law. And so it's kind of that trifecta that I call it, the three different benefits. And, it varies across the board. Some opportunities you could be profitable within 3 months from a monthly P&L standpoint. Some may take a full year to get to that point. It depends on a variety of factors, including your involvement in the business and how you kind of structure it from the beginning. But some of these opportunities, it's pretty eye-opening when you look at the types of returns that can be delivered on your invested capital. Because again, from a sheer number standpoint, you're also putting in some sweat effort, right? Mm-hmm. And that, so you're putting in a little more effort, but you're also have the potential to make a much higher return. So, a lot of opportunities maybe are in that 15 to 20% margin standpoint. But when you look at what that means, that's percentage of revenue. But when you look at what they invested originally, that could be 50% plus, on a return standpoint. But again, you have to take into consideration you're putting effort and time into the business as well.
Yeah. And so best potential for long-term success, what would you identify those as?
Yeah. We work with companies, over 600 different franchises. And I'll say this, it's entirely free to work with us. We're like a real estate broker, but for franchises. So we simply get a referral fee from the brands on the back end. None of that's passed on to our clients. But, what I'm looking at, is if I'm in my client's shoes, Joe in Dallas, and Joe says, hey, here's my background. Here's the role I'm looking to play in the business. Maybe here's some interests of mine. Here's some needs I may see in the market. Most of our clients say, hey, we're an open book. We don't know what we don't know yet. And so I'll typically take them through 10 or even 12 opportunities that are open in their market that from my perspective could be a really good fit if I was in their shoes. And we'll look at different industries. We'll look at things like home and property services. That's really popular. Health and wellness, categories like kids, pets, seniors. We'll give them really good variety to look at in different price points. But some of the key things to your question that I'm looking at obviously the financial model's got to be there. There's got to be competitive advantages. How does this business compete with others in its industry? But then I'm also looking at what are current owners in their system saying about their experience so far. That's the beauty. You kind of go in eyes wide open. And one of the most important things is, and the older I get, the more I value this, it's the leadership team within that business. I want to see a track record of not only industry experience, but also franchise experience represented on that team. Because I think that's your best indicator of future success. And that's really your business partner, right? That you're getting in bed with. And so, we encourage our clients to do full due diligence. We've kind of created a process that allows them to do that going in before they ever buy, so that they can go in, nothing's a given, but they can go in with a very good likelihood of knowing the outcome, what that success looks like.
Yeah. And so you have reports on across the country, right? You have reports of franchises, most of them. So here in California, we have Chick-fil-A and Ike's. And a lot of people think of, when they think franchises, they only go to fast food or these casual eating places. And so you just mentioned there's pets, there's all these other ones. What are some of the surprising, unexpected franchise opportunities that are out there?
No, it is funny when you say the F word, franchise. People do associate it with fast food. And so that's why I wrote a book, which I'm more than happy to share with all of your listeners, but non-food franchising, because oftentimes people overlook the fact there are all these other opportunities. And we've got nothing against the food guys. We need them. We support them. But my humble belief is there are easier ways to make money that oftentimes require fewer employees, less operating hours, maybe less capital investment. They're less susceptible to consumer whims. I always say frozen yogurt was big until it wasn't, right? And so I don't like changing customer whims. So oftentimes we're looking at things that may be a little less sexy or at least less trendy, things like in-home senior care. We've done a lot of placements there. I mean, that's a very much a needs-based business. Youth soccer, people are always going to spend on their kids, or maybe it's tutoring and so many different, I mentioned the trampoline parks, so many different ones in the kids space. Pets, it could be pet boarding, pet grooming, health and wellness, everything from fitness to mental health to certainly, recovery modalities like cold plunge, sauna, cryo, red light, stuff that I'm a big fan of too. We've had some clients getting involved there. There's just so many neat ones within that space. But a lot of people like home and property services, whether it be flooring or roofing or painting or things like dumpsters, or I'll just mention some of the ones that I own. I've got an asphalt paving and line striping business. So think parking lots. Got another one that provides temporary walls like containment walls around renovation projects and construction sites. I've got another one, and I just have a handful. I'm just mentioning these, but I've got one that in the health and wellness arena, it's a retail customer facing, storefront. And we use 3D printing to create custom insoles like orthotics for your shoes. And we sell some sandals and running shoes as well. So there's such diversity in so many different niches that, again, you don't think about until you see them.
Yeah. And having hear you say that, I think those things are needed. They're long term, right? Because senior living, I mean, a lot of our generations are getting older. And so there's always going to be a need for it in that space, in the whole roofing and housing and walls that you mentioned. And so if you're thinking long term, think of something that is not, as you said, trendy, that's not going to go out of business. There's always going to be a need for it as we get older, as the time goes on. Then that you're setting yourself up to be positioned well off.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about, you mentioned your book. If you bring it back up, let's talk about that a little bit. Then you mentioned some non-food franchisees. Tell us about some of the insights in that one.
Yeah. So my goal was to pack as much content into 90 pages. So if you know nothing about franchising, let's get you up to speed and fill in some of those gaps in understanding. So in the book, I go through, the different industries, funding options, go through, some case studies of different returns. I talk about different clients of mine just as examples of their backgrounds and the things they got into. I talk about the legal side of it and just how to evaluate the FDD, the franchise disclosure document from every franchise system. We talk about the roles of the franchisor and the franchisee. I've got some interesting chapters, one on franchising versus startups, kind of the pros and cons, and franchising versus buying an existing business. That's a big idea in the market today. Everyone wants to buy a business. It's like, first, it's really hard to find one where the stars align. I have people reach out all the time, every single day, saying, I've been looking for 2 years, 3 years, trying to find a business, can't find one. Maybe I should look at franchising. So I cover that in the book too. But yeah, would love to share a free copy. Most of my clients have read it or listened to it. We also have the audio version by the time we get on the phone. So it just allows us to really start out of the gate, with a little momentum there and cut to the chase.
Yeah, get right to it and get the knowledge needed. For a lot of the franchises, is it imperative to work there prior to making the jump so that you kind of know the operational piece of it, the management, the people, you understand how the business runs? Is it effective to go that route?
I don't think I've ever been asked that. I'd say it's definitely not common. Well, that being said, I do know a lot of salespeople that work with the franchises, kind of they're what they call a developer. They're salespeople that actually do then buy the franchise that they're representing. They fall in love with it and see it from the inside out. So that is pretty common. But yeah, most of our clients are looking for independence. They want the freedom, the flexibility, that has the potential of business ownership. Again, you work hard, especially in the beginning. I don't want to sugarcoat it, but most of them are looking for that long-term path versus saying, hey, I want to go take another job working for the man, which you would be if you're on the franchise support team, right? So I'd say that's less common.
Tell us about you mentioned you work hard. What does that look like? Is it more leadership once you get in? Let's say you sign the papers, you're going in. Is it leadership, putting the right managers in place, as you mentioned early on, putting in the right people and ensuring that you have buy-in in the structure, in the way that it is designed so that you can sustain it long term? What's the work that is initially required of the franchise owner?
Yeah, certainly some of it varies by the system. And you go in, you talk to other franchisees, find out the roles they're playing in the business. If you have more of a sales background and you enjoy that, then maybe that's more of the role that you take early on. You're more the tip of the spear, or at least hiring the salespeople. And then you've got a strong operations partner or person that you bring on board. Some people, the role would be reversed there as far as what they enjoy. So I think you kind of hire and play around your strengths. You kind of figure out what is the franchisor providing, what are the roles that I need to play. But yeah, ultimately, buck stops with you. You're the owner. You're the leader. Half of our clients do put a manager in place day one to run the day-to-day operations. So these clients may be putting in 5 to 10 hours a week. It may take them 15 hours a week early on, right? It's so much of it comes down to having a good manager running the day-to-day, who you align your incentives and you support them from the sideline. And the nice thing is you've got a franchise team supporting them as well, and they can carry some of that daily support water for you, allowing you to keep your day job or your existing business. So it is very doable. A lot of our clients will buy multiple brands over time. And again, just kind of replicate that model of putting a manager in place. Obviously, if it's not a good manager or if the manager leaves, you're going to have to lean in. It could cause some headaches but if you have a good manager in place, it is very doable. And we have countless case studies of clients that are doing that. But ultimately, as the owner, buck still stops with you. You're reviewing the numbers, you're providing some coaching, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. And tell us about FranBridge. And say somebody is listening and wants to get involved in thinking about it. Tell us about the services you provide. I know you say you do the research and it's free to come on board with you. Diving into that a little more.
Yeah. So first off, we're affiliated with IFPG. It's the largest franchise brokerage in the U.S. We work with over 600 different franchise companies across different industries. And that being said, at any given time, there's probably 50 or 60 that I feel strongest about, just having been a franchisor myself. And I am, like I said, a multi-brand franchisee as well. But no, it's entirely free to work with us. So think of us as an executive recruiter or a real estate broker. We get a referral fee on the back end from the brand. It's a sales and marketing cost for them. None of that's passed on to you. So again, using that analogy of Joe in Dallas, Joe calls up and says, hey, John, would like to explore opportunities. Not sure if now's the right time or, if it's the right fit. I say, hey, there's nothing to lose. Let's jump in. So I'll have a call, get to know them. I'll come back to them with opportunities that are available. I check availability before I present them. I'll take them through these opportunities. He'll say, hey, here are the 3 or 4 that resonated the most with me. I'll tee up conversations for him with those brands. And from there, the franchisors will take them through a series of calls and presentations, exposing him to the business, letting him talk to other franchisees in their system, really trying to get them as much information as possible leading up to what's called a discovery day, where they would, typically fly them in for a day or two. If they have a spouse, they can come as well. Get to know the culture, the team there at the home office, make sure it's a good fit, get all the questions answered. I'm always happy throughout the process to jump on touch base calls and can kind of hold their hand and bring in funding resources or have a franchise attorney review the agreement, or if they need a recruiter for some key personnel, we've got these types of partners that we can pull into. So it's really a one-stop shop. And to your point earlier, we leverage our relationships in the industry. We get to see kind of behind the curtain because if you just start Googling, companies pay to be on these top 100 franchise lists. There's just so much noise out there. It's really important to have a trusted partner. I mean, in the same way you would if you were buying a home or if you're making a big financial investment, you have an advisor. I encourage people, find a good franchise consultant. We feel that we do a pretty good job here. We've been ranked pretty high in the Inc. 5000 and such, but make sure you have a good partner to kind of guide you through the process.
Mm-hmm. Well put. Good to know too. Let's change it up a bit. Let's talk about your morning routine. How do you get up, dress up, and show up?
Yeah, well, it's definitely evolved over time. Obviously, you throw kids in the mix and that evolves it. But, I think early on, I used to exercise in the morning like so many, and I really dreaded that. It felt good when I was done, but I dreaded waking up in the morning. And now, first off, I'm living life on my terms. I get to design my own day because I'm a business owner. But I start the day typically, with some coffee, and then I'll have a big old jug of water with electrolytes in it, and we'll kind of go hand in hand, and like to read the Bible and just kind of get in the right mindset for the day. And then I'll go and have breakfast with my kids, and then I drive them to school. I come home, spend maybe 10 minutes with my wife. We might walk around the park or something like that, and then around 8:15 or so, I jump in, and it's time to work hard, right? So I used to work early in the mornings too, as early as 6 a.m. And again, it felt good to get work out of the way, but now I think I'm in the right mindset and investing time in the kids, during that period. So that's what my morning looks like.
Yeah, it's important. As you said, it does changes once you have kids, but it's like the season of your life, different season of your life. Then there's the need changes accordingly.
Yeah. And you just shift things around. So now I exercise after lunch, and I'll do the sauna and red light and all that as well, kind of compact it all. But I found that's my least productive time work-wise. And so that's my best time to exercise.
Yeah, and it gives you that second wind, that second energy that you need for the rest of the day. And when the kids come home, you're present, right? You're
Exactly.
there with them, and so that's important. That's the beauty of the morning routine. It can be done. The activities can be done throughout the day, but you change it during whatever season in your life.
Yeah, it's all about the rhythm. Finding that consistent rhythm.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us where we can how can we connect with you? Find your book. What website we can go to find the copy?
Yeah, come out to our website, franbridgeconsulting.com. That's FRAN, bridgeconsulting.com. And share your email address. We'll reach out, share multiple ways you can download the book for free. Certainly, if you'd like to have a call and learn more about franchising and take a next step, just indicate that interest at that time. And we'll send you a link to the calendar to get that going. But certainly, if you'd rather go out to Amazon, I mean, the book is on all the main websites out there. All the proceeds go to Hope International, which is a nonprofit that we really believe in. So if you'd rather go that path, but certainly you get a free copy again at franbridgeconsulting.com. And yeah, would love to connect and help in any way I can.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing. Really, really enjoyed having you on the show today, Jon. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect.
All right, morning enthusiasts, that's it for today's show. Thank you for tuning in. If you love the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, we'd love to hear from you. So go ahead and subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes or Google Play. While you're at it, tell a friend about the show. Be sure to visit bestmorningroutineever.com and our Facebook group to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our fantastic free bonus content. Until next time,